All right, three, two, one. Welcome back, y'all. We got Hans, a son of Mercury, again,
Good evening.
and we're gonna be talking
I'm
over.
Mike Wallace, and this is 60 Minutes.
Man, you're not even a boomer. You shouldn't know that. Today we're going over comic book movies we wish would be made, or at least part one. I'm sure we'll have a. I'm sure we have like a whole list of grievances that we wish we could get out.
Oh my God, that would probably be like 4 episodes.
Well,
Jeez.
yeah, and we'll probably repeat ourselves as it goes on, but I'll start. I want a new Constantine movie. I loved
You const-
yeah, I loved the Keanu Reeves one. I even recently rewatched it and forgot how good it was.
yeah, I enjoyed it too. And I even liked Shia LaBeouf in it too. A lot of people forget that he was the sidekick in that movie.
Yeah, and it's because he wasn't like prominent. They knew exactly how to use him. He played off well with Keanu. It's actually
Yeah.
a really good combination between the two. And what that the girl from the Mummy was in it as well?
Oh, Rachel Weisz.
Yeah, wasn't that her?
It might have been.
Anyway, well, she did. I mean, the whole I forget who directed it. I should have looked all this up, but I just off the top of my head. But man, it's well paced. It's well filmed. The dialogue is good. Like it's really good. Like it's like overall, it's like an A movie for me.
Yeah, actually, and in my opinion, it's one of the better comic book movies. Um, rather than I don't know. I guess they could do a remake of it. Constantine has done really well in general as far as movie making goes, and I'm talking like not just live action with Keanu Reeves, but it's done really well in the realm of the animated
Yeah,
as
with
well with the
Justice League
Justice League
Dark.
Dark, and they even went for I don't even I think even beyond Justice League Dark. I don't know if they have an independent Constantine title down on HBO from DC yet or not. I don't know, but I just know that Constantine is just always working really well, no matter what visual medium his titles getting put under, at least lately anyway.
Well,
So
it's because he's so flushed out, like fleshed out as a character. Like it's detective noir. Like it's, I mean, so much of his comics was just like him and his thoughts. And
yeah,
and
yeah,
what cause I read them like so long ago or whatever. But whenever like Justice League Dark came out and they had Constantine, he was just like he was talking so much and he was just being such a douche. I was like,
well,
I was
they
taking
gave him a British accent, which was awesome
well,
because I mean I'm
not
not
yeah.
a lot of British friends, and they might so don't laugh at me when I say this, but it made
Yeah, it
it made me
works.
sound, British,
Well,
yeah.
no, but I was saying because I was so distanced from it, I'd forget like rereading the comics. Like, man, he that's how he was. Like he's always been a dick,
That's true.
and it's great. It works so well for him. He's a hard boiled detective that has to also deal with demons.
Yeah, makes him and Batman great, great friends, right?
Yeah, especially when they're competing for Zatanna's attention.
Exactly.
Which I'd love
Um,
to. I think I don't know if we were supposed to get a Zatanna film, but I think it's a little much giving her an entire film. But she's always been like a really interesting character. I think they should. I think if DC's going to do anything with good, which I don't think they are in the movies coming out because they canceled Deathstroke, I think, but they should do a dark universe. They should build a DC Justice League Dark and do that. 'Cause, I mean, people, man, you make a good horror film or even a bad horror film, people will flock to see it. I'll flock to see it. Like,
yeah. Well, Zatanna would be a good complementary piece to Marvel's Doctor Strange, and I know they're not on the same level,
they could
um,
have Doctor Fate
but if
too.
you did, yeah, yeah, Doctor Fate would be like really the Doctor Strange,
Hmm.
persona. That would really be it. But you would, but to have the mysticism and the magic, and I mean, you could just really, really turn it into something fun, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, and this is another conversation I was planning on having with you and Josh later. But it's like, not so I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like horror is like punk rock. Like horror is always on the edge of doing something new. It's always on the radar. It's never taken seriously by critics, and when it is, that's when you should probably avoid it. Like,
Well, well, yeah, and you know who would be title for that kind of stuff. And like you said, not to go too far, but we did start talking about Justice League Dark characters here. Swamp Thing, man,
Yeah, I would
look
love
at
to
the
see that.
things you could do with him. And I mean, whether it's Justice League Dark or he could just be his own horror. Just, I mean, he'd be the protagonist, but he would be almost like a Dexter type of protagonist, where he's he's out there murdering people. Dexter murders people, but he's somehow sympathetic, a good guy that you want to cheer for, even though he's a serial killer. It's the same kind of concept with Swamp Thing, except he's a horrific monster, swamp beast, but you still approach it the same way. He's the mass murdering monster you want to live.
Well,
you
they
know,
they did do a Swamp Thing series a couple of years ago, and I watched like the first episode of it. Was great, and then I had a baby.
yeah,
So I would encourage everybody listening and yourself to go check it out. And I know Josh is a huge fan of it because he's the way I was even able to watch it because it was on like his Vudu or whatever.
right.
But yeah. So anyway, that'd be like I'm not even maybe. Ugh, I'm not even thinking maybe a reboot, but just like integrating Constantine into like a universe. I would just like to see the character on screen. Like, and I'll say my next one. I would love to see like a demon movie. I mean, it could rival Venom because it's this guy possessed by a literal demon and becomes like a superhero of sorts. It'd be very much like the symbiote, but it would be instead of a planetary and like space stuff, it'd be like demonic stuff.
Could have an Adrigan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd love to have
Yeah,
Etrigan.
yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Adrigan, yeah,
He's like my
yeah.
favorite DC character ever. Like,
No, I didn't realize that.
he's one of them, man. He's as strong as Superman, but he's evil and he speaks in rhymes.
His his riddles are really funny, and if you like uh, really fun dialogue, if you're watching the Justice League Dark series. I know we're putting them over a lot right now. We're kind of giving them a push here, but if you do watch it, and you see him rhyming, the responses of people within the group are usually really funny, especially Constantine, but other guys too will comment and they're like, "Geez, man, you were just."
Well, he can get away. He can get away with it because
It's really
he's just
funny.
demonic Superman. Like, but you can't do anything to him.
Yeah.
But how about yourself, man? Start naming off a few characters you'd like to see.
Excuse me. Well, let's see. I've always loved the idea of them doing, when Marvel went back in time, the
Yeah, 1610 was that it?
1610 or something like that.
Yeah.
Man, how cool would that be if that was fleshed out into like a miniseries, like a Netflix miniseries, or I mean, obviously it'd be on Disney since it'd be like a Disney Plus series, and you could even pose as like a what if universe, right? Because they have the what ifs going on over there.
Yeah.
What if, you could do that 1610 and have all the Marvel guys, and it doesn't have it doesn't have to be live action. It can be animated. That's fine. But I would absolutely love to see. I've always wanted to see that come to life.
Yeah, that was a good
In one
story.
way
I think Neil Gaiman had wrote part of it, didn't he?
Yeah, if not most of it. I thought, yeah, he was
Yeah.
involved in it, and he was in it, and you know, I I always remember Daredevil. Although Daredevil always sticks out in that story for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I just really always enjoyed it. And then also, let's see, wanted I've always kind of wanted to go into the Batman like extended world, uh, where you're not just dealing with street level guys, like, because they try to make Batman very realistic and very dark, and that's cool. But I mean, if you're going to put him on a JLA level, like how DC's been trying to introduce the JLA level
Yeah.
stuff with the Ben Affleck and all that, then I would love to see them go on um, an exploration of his bigger characters, like the Clayfaces or the Crocs or the Banes, but not Bane from the Dark Knight Returns, like venom pumping inducing vein. You know what I'm saying? Like with the
Mm-hmm.
poison ivies. I've always wanted to see them. The Snyderverse, I guess you could say, expand into like the greater Batman world. That would be really cool.
I mean, I think they could just print money if they did an Arkham Asylum movie.
Oh yeah, and just have all those guys in it. You know, and you don't have to have an origin movie either. Just be like, oh, these are Clayfaces. I mean, I would assume that most people know who he is. And that's just two of them. Green Lantern is way overdue for a decent run. Even Ryan Reynolds picks on himself about that. He even knows it sucks. Yeah. He's done countless. There's on YouTube. There's all kinds of videos of him just completely bashing himself. Like he takes his own name to the woodshed about how bad Green Lantern was and how he does it. You could do a really, really, really good Green Lantern. You can't, especially with how Guardians of the Galaxy came out and how well that was done. So you can do a sci-fi comic book movie and the Thor Ragnaroks and all that. It means you could do a good Green Lantern movie too. You just got to do it right,
Yeah, I think they should make one that. I mean, this would be pretty bold and daring. They kind of tried it with the movie, but I would love to just see a movie of Sinestro, like his life through the core.
Well, yeah, when he was the other than Hal Jordan, he's the greatest Lantern to ever live. Even after Hal Jordan, he was the only one who could rival him, right? I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
have other heroes. I mean, we'll have people listening. They'll say, "Well, no, it's Kyle Rayner this," or Guy Gardner. I call him Guy because Guy Gardner is something. But Guy Gardner, Guy Gardner, John Stewart, those guys.
Yeah, John
But I
Stewart.
think
John Stewart was my favorite.
yeah, he was the military man. He always made military stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how Jordan did too. He made like airplanes and things, but fighter jets. But John Stewart was like the Marine, right? The soldier. I think he was a Marine, but he was like a soldier. And he had tanks and would make rifles and like giant cannons and all kind of like he actually made weapons. He didn't make freight trains, which is cool too. With his ring, but Sinestro was always like the main man. You know what I'm saying? Like he was always, and he even had story arcs where he would have to team up with the Green Lanterns, where he recognized there was a greater enemy, and hey, maybe the Yellow Lanterns will temporarily team up with the Green Lanterns, and of course, as any decent bad guy would, they would stab him in the back, but I mean, you have to, right? Because you're the bad guy. But temporarily, at least you don't. And I don't know. It's just always been interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sinestro's a favorite. He's probably my favorite. He's in my top 3 favorite DC characters of all time. I used to have I still do have the Sinestro Core War series, and I've just always been a massive fan of Sinestro. So
He's one of the best comic book villains ever, and he's definitely one of the top 10 of DC.
but he's a villain you
yeah.
can sympathize with and
And
empathize with.
yeah, he's just
He-
he's a failed hero.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, his qualms are valid. Like I mean, it's never okay to create a planet that murders people and causes fear. But at the same time, you know, you get it. Like it's like, okay, no, you're a bad guy. You have to be stopped. You're the bad guy. I get it. You can't be allowed to hang around. But I get it. Like I understand why you're doing what you're doing. Like that is a valid reason, but you still need to get stopped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He he's a great example of, the methods are wrong.
Well, he exposed the corruption from the Guardians. He
Hmm.
exposed their corruption, their hypocrisies. He's the one that said, "Hey, look, these Guardians you guys are serving or under, they're not what they're all up to be. You guys need to look out for them." And sure enough, blackest night happened because one of them was corrupt. So
Yeah. Um I know I pitched this to you before and I pitched it to Josh. And I'll probably say it over and over and over again in the history of this podcast, but I want a true Weapon X movie. I
oh man,
Yeah, I want, and they don't even have to introduce themselves as these, but I want Wolverine, Sabretooth, Maverick and Silver Fox being called in as this elite team to like the Siberian tundra to just stop this thing that's there that the armies can't stop. And it's like an action horror movie, super dark, super bleak. It doesn't have to have like tons of F words in it, but you know what I mean, like kind of like Predator, but in a tundra. And,
Omega Red.
Yeah, and make it Omega Red. And like half the movie, you just see like tentacles ripping through like huge frozen trees, taking out like the squadron of soldiers with them. And yeah, it comes down to them just getting massacred by Omega Red until they can finally stop him.
Right. And then when they go to investigate Omega Red, or after they beat Omega Red, they can even beat Omega Red like 3/4 of the way through the movie. And then they go to trace the source of where he came from, and it finds out that it's actually their employers, the people that hired them, and then they get captured, and then they get introduced to the Weapon X program, and that's how like the first movie would end is them Wolverine getting adamantium.
Yeah, it's like a test.
Yeah,
I think that'd be. They're never gonna do that, and I think they were supposed to.
It'd be too good.
Disney doesn't like good ideas. It would. They I think they were gonna put Omega Red in like Falcon and Winter Soldier sometime.
Oh no!
But I mean, none of those guys aren't capable of fighting him.
No, even the X-Men couldn't handle him. Omega Red, when it was the return of Omega Red, he beat the crap out of what is it, Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, Beast, and Jubilee. Like he went through all of them.
Yeah, he's nigh unstoppable in certain conditions. I mean, he couldn't take like the Juggernaut, but I think he beat Rogue because of the death spores, and like he was able to absorb some of her life energy, because I don't think her touching his carbamanium tentacles did anything.
Right, and then he beat. I remember he pretty handily beat Beast, Gambit, and Jubilee. He pretty handily beat the three of them.
Oh yeah, they're on his first appearance. I mean, he put Wolverine to shame. Like he tore him up bad, and I think I would love to just see like them like in their natural environment, like hunting, like especially him and Sabretooth trying to hunt this thing, and this thing is clearly just outsmarting them.
yeah. And then that's how you can kind of also see the relationship between Sabretooth and Wolverine, and how they weren't always at each other's throat. You know, there was a time where they were friends, they were best friends.
Yeah,
you know, they were like brothers.
And I mean, you could even have the fallout. Like you could have Sabretooth, Creed betray them and use Silver Fox as bait or something, and maybe that's how he gets the first blow on Omega Red, but she dies or something. Because I mean, that was a problem between. That's what started their rivalry supposedly at one point in history, was Sabretooth killed Silver Fox.
Right, and that would be a great idea, and also that he could have first access, maybe because he knew the entire time the people who hired the people, who were going to do the Weapon X, and maybe he knew the entire time it was a test, and he was trying to jot for position, and he was willing to betray his brother, Logan, because Logan and Maverick, because he saw them as brothers, they saw each other as brothers in arms, and Silver Fox, he was willing to betray them. And then they take it to heart, and maybe make Maverick. You could kill Maverick with Omega Red. Maverick and Omega Red have a standoff, and Omega Red wins. And Maverick goes out in a blaze of glory, like valiantly, like he doesn't just get punked. He doesn't get punked out. He actually gives a really, really, really good fight that he just ultimately doesn't win.
Yeah, you could even have him make it out and be the only one that doesn't get captured.
Yeah, that's true too.
You could do a bunch of stuff. I mean, you could even bring Phantomex into that. I mean, he was from like the future, but anyway, that's my dream X-Men movie, and it's never gonna happen.
That would be cool. My dream for X-Men would be everyone to stop making Cyclops look like a punk.
Yeah,
I would love that. Show the man some respect. Any X-Men medium.
Age of Apocalypse, one of the only. If I remember, I think they did Cyclops kind of okay in that. I don't remember, because I saw that movie once and I just pushed it out of my brain.
In Age of Apocalypse, he did okay because they didn't make him whine. They made him, I mean, under the guidance of Mystique, they made him, she taught him how to use his vision, and when it came time to shoot Apocalypse, she's the one who's like, take your visor off, go eyes open on him, and he did. He went full force on Apocalypse, but
You mean
yeah, yeah, man, Apocalypse has the coolest lines in
oh
the
man,
cartoon to me.
I think
I'm
about that.
as far beyond mutant as you are, as they are beyond you.
Man,
He's like, uh,
human. One of my favorite lines in anything ever, and I think about it at least like twice a week, is when the army shows up to shoot him, and he says, "You are no greater a threat than the Babylonians with their horses and fire sticks." It's something like that. I know he says fire sticks. It's like,
man, that '90s cartoon was, man, Apocalypse had the best lines, and then when he started questioning like his existence
could
because
it
Cable
be?
because Cable was beating him,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Why am I losing to Cable? Why am I alive? What is the purpose of my life?"
It's like nobody cares. It's like, dude, you're a horrible person.
He was in like mid combat, like he was getting shot at, and he was questioning his life while getting shot.
Yeah, that's when he goes back in time. That's what it was. It's like,
Man,
and then you throw up the Always Sunny in Philadelphia font, like Apocalypse finds his
yeah.
purpose. Like,
He's Apocalypse. He is actually my favorite in the Marvel universe. He's actually my favorite Universal bad guy. Like,
yeah,
you have your Thanos, you have your, I'm talking about like where the entire Marvel universe has to come together to beat him
yeah,
because it takes more than the X-Men, to take on Apocalypse. It usually takes everybody to take him on. And in Age of Apocalypse, it did take everybody to take him on. So, I always enjoyed him as being. He was always my favorite big baddie from Marvel, the universe encasing baddie. So
oh yeah.
yeah,
I I'm gonna try to get back on target, but
oh,
staying
yeah,
on target. But
yeah.
I love
Like
Magneto. I
Porkins.
love the one Age of Apocalypse, and it's so weird that they rushed that story because like they had so many issues and they still rushed it at the end, but Magneto just rips him apart.
Yeah, he does. He does, and man, what would it be a good movie? I mean, they made a single. I mean, Fox made their single,
Facts.
Age of Apocalypse movie, right? But and that was good, I guess, for what it was. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't my favorite, but whatever. They could have, uh, considering how big that series was, how just all-encompassing that series is, they could have like really gotten into the nitty-gritty and shown people's favorite X-Men characters and what happens when the bad guy wins. And now this is the new world that you're in, and how do you survive it? I mean, they really could have done some good miniseries stuff with that.
Yeah, but they weren't gonna do that.
No, because again, that's a good idea. We're talking about the big two here, so
Yeah,
one of the big two.
and I think was it Warner Bros. Whoever owns Sony, like they don't know what they're doing.
No.
I think the best thing they've done so far is allow Marvel to use like the Spider-Man
Hmm.
that they already owned.
Yeah, that they still own. Yeah,
Yeah.
they own anyway.
Anyway, okay. If it's possible to be done, it's such a complex story. I don't know if you could, but I would like to see a Kabuki film. If you remember that independent comic, well, I
Hmm.
think it was under Image for a while. But I mean, it's such a. First of all, it would make a wonderful anime. Like it would be
Oh,
like
yeah.
a dope anime because it's told out of order. It's so complex. It's in like a
I thought it was. Was it never made into an anime? Was it always just a comic? Like I
yeah.
didn't realize.
I don't think Kabuki was ever an anime, but it should have been.
Yeah, for some reason I always thought it was. Hmm.
No, but it's a fantastic story.
Man, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of series. Kabuki would be one of them. Um, you know, a series that I always thought would have been a fun. maybe not spun off into a movie, but maybe like into a TV series, and maybe not even a TV series. It could have just been like a 3 part, 1 hour long Netflix series. Would be from Image. It's a poor man's Punisher. His name was Nomad.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
Do you
Nomad.
remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I had a few Nomad comics back in the day, and I'm like, they could make like a really cool like little 3 part miniseries, an hour long episode each, and just like make Nomad. Like that'd be really cool. I don't know. And
No.
I mean, I always thought he was like a poor man's Punisher, just because I always got Punisher vibes off of him. But but I one of my favorite scenes of Nomad was when it was a comic book issue where they were in the desert, and these guys would strung up a deer and ran over a deer on purpose just to take its life, just to be callous and cruel and cold hearted. And so after these same guys, these like redneck hillbillies were like chasing after this woman and trying to beat her and go after her and probably assault her, no doubt. Um, he
They just wanted to talk.
Yeah, Nomad tied him up, just like the deer he tied up, and then he ran them over with the car. And like the last image you see is like the headlights of the car coming at them, in the iris of their eyes, and Nomad, silhouette behind the wheel, and them getting hit the same way they hit that deer. And man, that's and he had him like tied up naked and just roped up. It was crazy. Yeah, I mean, no, but that's pretty crazy. I would love to. I mean, imagine that on film.
I mean,
Wow.
we live in a world where somehow, I don't mean that bad because I'm so glad it happened, but like Hellboy got a movie and
Yeah.
Preacher got a show. Like I never thought you would have seen Preacher on TV. Like because I grew up in the '90s.
Yeah.
Like you didn't think that was
Yeah,
gonna
that was
happen.
weird watching Future.
What a bizarre. I mean, there's just stuff you could do. Like there's just Oh, let me think. Now that I'm on the spot, I'm trying to think of some other ones that we could do. Just, I mean, I'm trying to avoid like the more popular ones that we haven't gotten yet. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
more, some of the more obscure ones that we could do. I think,
Yeah. Are you talking
yeah,
about spinning off into like TVs or movies or something
yeah,
like that?
yeah, like lesser known comics that would be really good
Sure.
on the screen.
Sure.
And I,
Well, Alien, oh, not well, Alien versus Predator had a really good run with Dark Horse, and I don't know if they're still running with them or not. But Alien AVP had a really good lesser known spinoff where they had a human um, get the Predator suit because she had survived.
oh yeah,
It was a girl. She had survived yeah, I think it was she had survived an alien attack or she had survived a predator hunt, maybe both. And she had actually thrived instead of even survived. She had thrived, and she had, it's an honor system with the predators, and she earned like predator armor, and that never, ever, ever happens. And she is like the only, I think she's the only human ever in the history of that universe, of that Alien Predator universe, the only human ever to have Predator armor because it's not allowed. And she hunted with other predators, and she was like supposed to be the only human that could ever like do that with them. And man, how cool would that be of a series?
I did think of that, like that HBO or somebody should pick up Predator as a series and just do like the kind of one shot stories like that. Because I remember there was one that was like a samurai, and I think he ended up,
Yeah,
yeah, I think he killed like two or three of them, and like ate
and then
their
yeah,
hearts or something like that.
right. And then it gave him long life,
Yeah, because he
and
would fight them like
that was
over and
actually
over.
comics. And it would give him long life, and he lived to modern day. And then he was finally killed by one in modern day. But
That was
yeah,
it.
he was able to compete, um and yeah, that was the same timeline as Arnold's character and Danny Glover's character because those characters actually those characters actually transcended over into the comic universe. They became canon with the comic book stuff. Which was actually kind of cool. I'm glad that the Alien and Predator series did that. They took their movie characters and made them into actual comic characters and gave them more depth. So if you wanted to see the stories surrounding, Arnold's character or Danny Glover's character fleshed out more, you could check out the comics around them.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to I'd like to see that Deathstroke movie that was canceled. Like that
Oh
one
yeah,
that one actually hurts. I think I already mentioned that before, but I mean,
with Charlie Hunnam, would you want the
yeah,
same actor?
yeah, and the same
I
director.
really like Charlie Hunnam too.
I mean, my goodness, it's just like if you, especially you've got all these characters you could just spin off of. Like you've
Yeah,
got an entire rogues gallery that you can just. I mean, they've bled Harley Quinn dry. Like we've got it. We got Birds of Prey. We got the Harley Quinn cartoon. We got the was it Birds of Prey 2? I don't remember. I don't
yeah,
remember.
and then they have all the these Suicide Squads are actually fun. The second one is
Suicide
actually really.
Squad, yeah.
I really did. You watch the second one for that? By the way,
No,
Suicide
no, not yet.
Squad. It's really fun. And actually, so speaking of spin-offs on smaller characters, John Cena's character, Peacemaker,
Peacemaker, yeah, he's getting something, isn't he?
who's on Suicide Squad 2, that's where he gets introduced, is getting his own HBO series starring John Cena.
That's
So
crazy.
I guess DC is actually, we're talking about just now. I guess they are actually doing that, which I think is really cool
Mm-hmm.
because that Suicide Squad 2 was I thought it was really good, and it wasn't it wasn't as just corny. I think the first one was just corny, and it wasn't as corny as the first one. It was actually a fun movie that I really enjoyed and I laughed at, but I had it that you also took seriously.
The first,
And then
sorry, go ahead.
Peacemaker is great, and that is a good spinoff on a smaller character that you get to see more of.
The first Suicide Squad is like one of two movies I've ever walked out of.
Oh yeah, I mean
It
yeah, the
was
first
so
one,
bad.
yeah, it was corny. It was just ridiculous. It didn't make sense.
It was well,
Couldn't take it seriously.
it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Like, is it a joke? Is it super serious? Is it super? I mean, there are people like bringing their kids there, which people always be bringing their kids to R-rated movies for some reason. But I just remember we were sitting
That's for
there.
Suicide.
I mean, I paid $2 to see it. Like, I saw it at a local theater, like me and my wife,
Yeah,
and it was like, all right, I'm getting hungry, and like the pizza place closes in like 20 minutes, and there's like 40 minutes left of this movie. They're gonna stop the witch. I don't care how they do it.
yeah, she's getting beat. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the only way
No,
the only way they could surprise me is if the witch kills them all and it ends.
the second movie is actually pretty fun. It's pretty fun because they make it like if Guardians of the Galaxy was R-rated.
Yeah,
And I'm not trying to draw comparisons, but if you haven't seen the movie, how else are you going to know? So I guess it's just like that's what I would think of it. I'd approach it like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of a deal, just R-rated. And like I said, yeah, Peacemaker getting his spinoff. That's a lot of fun. John Cena's a lot of fun as an actor. Um, I don't know, I enjoy him. So
no, I'm glad that they're finally getting these kind of guys, like these wrestlers, like The Rock and all these guys. Like, they'll do anything. Like, they can make anything at least somewhat entertaining because that's their job. Like, their job is to
right,
go perform in front of people like nearly 24/7 and make light of. I mean, they go out there wearing like a leotard and they make it good.
yeah. And if you don't work for WWE, you're able to ad lib on the spot too. So WWE scripted, guys.
Yeah.
But I'm talking, yeah. So if listeners don't understand what I mean by that, all wrestling is scripted, of course. But WWE actually has writers, whereas like other wrestling organizations, such as AEW, which is what I prefer to take in, but also Impact Wrestling or New Japan, they don't have writers. They allow the talent to create their own promo and ad lib their own promos. I mean, they have to clear it first, but they still get to have a hand in the creation. Whereas WWE has like actual script writers. So that's why I said what I said. But their work ethic is great. The work ethic of
Yeah.
a wrestler is amazing because even if you are remembering words off of a script in the middle of a ring, to be able to do that live, like what they're traveling, they travel like 200 appearances a year. I mean, that's a lot out of 365 days. and they're doing it day in and day out in front of live audiences. That's why a lot of people like to work with wrestlers. And The Rock is the highest paid actor, or at least the last I checked, he was the highest paid actor in all Hollywood because his work ethic demands it. Because he really brings it.
Yeah.
Not just to play off his "just bring it" slogan, but yeah, he does.
Um, I'd like to see, just to get us back on topic, I'd like to see a decent Spawn movie.
Oh yeah. Oh man, Spawn could be. You were talking about the horror stuff.
Hmm.
What could they do with the villains that Spawn faces?
Yeah.
My gosh.
You got the demon, the Violator. You got all of his family. You've got I mean, you could do like a Billy Kincaid story, like the pedophile that was killing kids. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, and the cartoon already did this. Like the cartoon just followed the comic and cleaned it up and actually did better writing, and it was fantastic. And then for some reason they couldn't do it with the movie. I mean, there are parts of that movie I like. I mean, the main actor was fantastic in it, and even John Leguizamo as Violator was great. It was
yeah.
there was just certain parts that were a little bit too 90ish, particularly the graphics and some of the script. But I mean, it had potential to be like a really good movie.
That's what I think. It's just what they had to work with, what budget they had at that time, right? I mean, it wasn't. No one was screaming Spawn at the top of their lungs whenever it came out.
Yeah,
So
and well, I mean, it was pretty popular, but I mean, it wasn't a legacy character. But I think they let McFarlane probably write too much of it. I mean, while he's probably one of the greatest artists of all time, he's not the best writer.
well,
But
well,
I think I
you,
would.
you,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say nothing. I was going to talk on the horror stuff. I was going to say nothing creeps you out worse. We're talking about Viler than a fat clown who eats people.
Yeah,
I mean, suck at Pennywise, but Viler's got you beat
but I
there,
say
buddy.
he's scarier than Pennywise.
Yeah, he
This
is.
is an obscure one, but it was from I think it was Anthem Comics. Let me see.
Anthem.
I think it was them. Give me a second. I got it right here.
But I
Uh,
really go ahead.
no, it was the name of the comic is Soulfire, and it was created by Michael Turner, who was like one of the main guys on a Witchblade when it came out. Oh,
Okay. Yeah.
Aspen Comics, not Anthem. I guess I was thinking of Rush.
Right. That's
Yeah,
okay.
Aspen Comics, and they made a Fathom, which was like a mermaid story that was actually really good. It was like, I mean, this dude he's an amazing artist, but
Right.
he had this series called Soulfire, which I just bought because of the art, but it's in the future, and magic has returned, or they're trying to bring magic back, and it's kind of like this desert slash corporate Blade Runner esque dystopia, but
Mm.
out of nowhere, this kid gets kidnapped by like this incredibly attractive chick with with bugs wings, kind of like dragonfly wings,
Okay.
and she explains that he's like the key to like bringing magic back, and then suddenly they're attacked by like gigantic techno organic dragons and stuff.
Oh
and
wow.
and it looks amazing. Like there's like the centerfolds this guy would do. Not only could he draw the female form better than anybody, but he'd have like this huge like mechanical dragon sitting on top of a city, and like again he was mostly an artist rather than a writer, so the story isn't as good as it could be. But if you get like a good writer on it with those visuals, if they stuck to like how the comic looks, I mean, it'd be like a fantastic series.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They it and that's imagine how intimidating that would be. Like this giant like techno dragon just dauntingly, half machine,
Yeah.
half creature just waiting on its next victim, just overtaking entire cities. I mean, how epic in proportion. I mean, for lack of a better word, would that be visually speaking? Like the camera angles and the ins and outs and the computer modeling and all that behind that. Man, that looks so awesome, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull it up real quick so everybody can see it if they have. I mean,
Another series I would love would be the
yeah.
Mass Effect series, which is a video game series. And I'll get into that in a minute. I'm going to let you pull it up for those guys, and I'll get into Mass Effect in a second.
Oh no, it's a super good. Let me see. I'm gonna share my screen with you. All right, can you see the screen?
Uh,
You might need to click on
let's
it
see. Yes,
so you can see my screen now.
I can. Mm-hmm.
All right, look at this.
Yeah.
You see this?
So,
Like, look at this
so the
stuff.
listeners who are, yeah, so the listeners who are hearing this and not seeing it. I mean,
Yeah,
these are some really visceral images here. You have a cityscape with this, it's this red and orange fiery background with this giant dragon just overlooking the entire landscape and
it's like
just
it's like all
absolutely
of it's like all of Las Vegas burned to the ground.
yeah, it is, and it's just and then you have this night image as well, just different, all these various different ones, but it is, I mean, like I said, epic. The things that you could do with the camera and the right
Hmm.
programs and get the right actors in there and make it live action. I mean, man, that would be just visually breathtaking.
Yeah, this image right here. This is what made me buy the comic. I was like flipping through it, and in issue 1 they had this, and yeah, this one right here. I was like, holy crap, I'm
Right,
buying that. But
right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, and he's referencing the image we just described. Yeah,
And if
the
you
big.
if you're listening, just search Soulfire, Soul Fire Dragon comic or Soulfire comic Dragon. I mean, if you search Soulfire comic, it's gonna bring up. I mean, this guy's art's incredible anyway. And let me see if I can pull up Fathom.
Yeah, is this the same creator now that you're talking about from Fathom who did
Yeah,
Soulfire?
Michael
Okay.
Turner. Yeah, see, look at just the art alone is fantastic. I mean, and you can tell you can tell this guy drew Witchblade. Like he kind
Which
of
one is
yeah.
great too.
When
Yeah.
he literally like defined how she looks. I mean, look that's Witchblade. Like
Right. Right.
yeah.
And I always remember Witchblade and the um Witchblade always reminds me of these like early '90s death metal or heavy metal bands
Oh yeah.
that had all these like really cool graphics and even maybe late '80s, would put all these like graphics on it, and it would always Witchblade art always reminded me of that.
Yeah. I should do a whole episode on this guy. Michael, he's got a really interesting story. Like just to give a quick overview, because like because I love his story. Unfortunately, he passed away. I think he had cancer, and
Yeah.
but anyway, like he was an artist that like nobody knew, and he like auditioned something like somebody talked about him, and he got an audition, and they they came back and they gave him like an hour or so, and they came back and he had drawn like an entire city landscape. and and
Right.
he was like, "Is this good enough?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's amazing." And then he had kind of like a photographic memory because like he had like actually like hindered himself from drawing because he refused to like use visual reference. Like he wouldn't look at a picture and then like mimic it. And some guy he was working with was like, "Hey man, you should just print up just look at a picture like in a book of like a city and then do it." And then like he was like, "Oh, I didn't really think about that. I thought that was kind of like cheating." He's like, "No, you just do it." And they came back again, and he had like completely from memory like drawn the entire thing.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm butchering the story, but I mean, I'm scrolling through. I'll put this on the visual podcast. But I mean, just this dude's art is top notch. He's kind of at least to me, unsung hero of that era.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Um,
but yeah, Soulfire would be a great like Game of Thrones esque show.
oh yeah. yeah, I think so too. And what I was going to say earlier was about the Mass Effect thing was, it's a comic book medium as well as it's a video game, but it's actually my favorite video game series of all time. And I mean ever. I'm including all the classics as well. Um, it's a game that when you play it, you are the character truly, and you really do make moral decisions in that game. And
Are you, are you telling me
there's
it's better than Mario's Time Machine?
yes, there's there's four games, and the first three games are interconnected in a way that if decisions like actual moral questionable decisions that you make in the first game, and sometimes they can even be benign decisions. They could just be the decision to help somebody or not help somebody. They actually come back all the way like in the third game, and you're like, what the heck? And you'll forget that character ever existed. You'll forget, and then they're like, oh, I mean, that's the cause and effect of things. You're off on your adventure, and you haven't been back to this planet, until the third game, and now you're back, and this person remembers you. I hope you remember them because they're still pissed about what happened.
That
It's
sounds
just
like my high school reunion.
and it's just a game that has actual consequence, and it makes you responsible for the other characters around you, because a lot of times decisions that you make in that game will get your characters that surround your main character killed. Like it'll just kill them off, or sometimes they'll live, and then you just and it causes emotion. There's heartbreak in it. They have you make tough decisions. Like you have to choose between one character or another to who lives and who dies. You have to make that choice in a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then when you become attached to them because you become attached to the dialogue. And I think that a game that's what got my attention to it. But the story, the overarching story, and like I said, they have spin-off in the comic books and stuff like that too, is just so good. And I want to say that Henry Cavill, who we all know is doing,
Oh yeah, I heard him. I heard him mention that
Witcher.
The Witcher. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
he's doing everything
he,
nerdy. He's the most attractive nerd on the planet.
he is, and he's doing The Witcher right now, and he has expressed interest in doing Mass Effect because the same people who did Mass Effect also did The Witcher. It's the same producers, so um, therefore it's a lot of the same elements. And he actually played The Witcher. The thing which was amazing for that was that he played the game, and he had already written himself into that role as a fan of the game before the concept was even created to have it put on screen. So that way, whenever cast callings occurred, he answered the cast call because he had, he was saying this in an interview last week that I saw on the news. I believe it was on the morning news channels. He had said that he had already written his own script, his own lines. He had already written everything. Just as a nerd, he wrote out his own self into his own Witcher stories as a nerd. He loved it so much. And he had done the same for Mass Effect. And he said that if there was ever a Mass Effect, he would be interested in playing Shepard, the main character, because or John Shepard, the main male character anyway.
Can we can we
And
get
Jane Shepard.
can we get
Yeah,
Sam Jackson to play Deckard Cain in a Diablo movie?
that'd be so
Stay
crazy.
a while and listen.
Yeah, and drop 40 F bombs behind it. That'd be hilarious. He
Pilgrim.
yeah, yeah, or what he said to Spider-Man was and not No Way Home. It was Far From Home, where they were in, where he was. And Spider-Man said, "I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man," and an ad-lib part that was not part of the script but was put into the movie by Sam Jackson himself was he went, "Bitch, please, you've been to space." and, and that was completely ad-libbed on Sam Jackson's part and completely, unscripted, and they kept it because it was just perfect. But he could say that definitely in Diablo. Bitch, please, you fought a demon. but no, Mass Effect, man,
It'd be a
Man,
good
it
one.
would make my heart so happy to see that. Oh, and the scope and the size of that series, and Henry Cavill like really wanting to jump on board to being a John Shepherd, male Shepherd. Of course, in the game you can pick between Jane or John. You can
No,
be
no,
female Shepherd.
we need to see him play Jane Shepherd.
So you can play the female Shepherd.
Yep.
Man, it's crazy that, but I don't know. It's just a great series, and
I would pay
and
good money to see Henry Cavill play the chick Shepherd. Because he'd kill it. It'd be amazing.
we have friends who are in the cosplaying community, and they are very very adept at creating costumes, and they have all the 3D print abilities and all the artistic and all the actual resources. They have the literal hands-on resources to create their own masterpiece when it comes to costuming. And I've always told them, I said, look, if we go to a convention and I get to dress up, I'm going as an N7 guy from Mass Effect. And I mean, if this could be a movie or a TV series, I mean, I'm buying that subscription if I don't already have it wherever it's at. So
Nice. All right, man. Well, let's wrap this one up. And we'll holler at you guys later.
yep. All right. See you later.